Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of organizers, my co-moderator Audronė Aljošiūtė and myself, I'm pleased to welcome you at the 10th Nordic-Baltic Sustainable Business Summit.
And the topic this year is really extraordinary. It's artificial intelligence and sustainability, taking care of tomorrow.
And hearing the presentations and discussion, you will realize how it's important to take care of tomorrow in context of artificial intelligence. Now we will invite Ambassador of Finland, Her Excellency Arja Makkonen, to raise opening speech.
And Ms. Arja Makkonen is Ambassador of Finland to Lithuania since September 2020. Before current position, she served 4 years as roving ambassador of Finland to the South Caucasus, covering Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and prior to that, she served as ambassador of Finland to Ukraine.
Ms. Makkonen has also gained valuable experience as a deputy head of mission at the embassies of Finland in Moscow and in Warsaw. At the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Helsinki, among other things, she served as diplomatic advisor to the Minister for Foreign Trade and European Affairs. Ms. Makkonen has worked at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs since 1989.
And it's important to notice that the President of Finland awarded Ms. Makkonen the Commander of the Order of the Lion of Finland.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, Her Excellency Arja Makkonen, Ambassador of Finland to Lithuania.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm really happy to see you all here. We have exceptional weather today. It's a real Finnish weather, so we brought it here. Sorry for that. Distinguished guests, representatives of business, colleagues, friends of artificial intelligence and sustainability. It's a great pleasure to see you here in LitExpo, and some of you also online to celebrate the 10th Sustainable Business Summit in Lithuania. I have been told that originally the idea of a sustainability summit came from the Danish ambassador Jørgen Molde, who had been keen to make the corporate responsibility concept with best practices more known in Lithuania. 10 years ago, the Nordic Chambers of Commerce, Danish, Swedish, Norwegian and Finnish, started working on these concepts with Nordic Council of Ministers Office in Lithuania and Lithuanian Responsible Business Association LAVA. And then they started using the word sustainability. At that time, it was rather a rare word, and you should know how to learn to use it. And now, as you have seen from the title, Nordic and Baltic Chambers of Commerce celebrate together the 10th anniversary. The aim of today, among other things, is to talk about how artificial intelligence can be used to boost companies' sustainability. Probably we don't even understand how much artificial intelligence is already used in different sectors nowadays. Artificial intelligence will improve healthcare, boost productivity, or address climate change. Artificial intelligence is a general technology that is accessible, powerful, and adaptable for a vast range of uses, both civilian and military. We should not underestimate real threats of using artificial intelligence. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen reminded in her State of the Union speech in the autumn that we have a narrowing window of opportunity to guide this technology responsibly. Europe, together with partners like US, is trying to lead the way on a new global framework for artificial intelligence. Just a few days ago, Microsoft President Brad Smith visited Finland, and also talking about artificial intelligence and sustainability, among other things. And his message was very clear. Artificial intelligence needs an emergency brake. So this means regulation. I would like to mention that in 2019, when Finland had the European Union presidency, we launched an initiative offering a free Elements of Artificial Intelligence online course to all countries starting 2020. The objective was to train EU citizens in the basics of artificial intelligence, and in Finland we thought that it is very important to utilize and develop the digital economy and artificial intelligence, as well as invest in citizens' knowledge and skills regardless of their age or educational background. Since mid-2020, Elements of Artificial Intelligence course has been available in Lithuania and accessible to all citizens in Lithuanian. So you may try it. It should be functioning still. But it's not very easy, I have to confess. Finally, I would like to thank all those who have been working so much for this conference and anniversary summit. First of all, the organizers. Nordic Council of Ministers Office, Norden, Swedish Chamber of Commerce, Lithuanian Responsible Business Association, LAVA, Norwegian Lithuanian Chamber of Commerce, Estonian Chamber of Commerce, Latvian Chamber of Commerce, and of course, Finnish Lithuanian Chamber of Commerce as a responsible organizer this year, coordinated by Rubina Hapamäki and Laimonas Markauskas. And then, last but not least, my warm thank you to our valuable partners as sponsors. Finnish company Paulik for sponsoring sustainable coffee, Finnish company Hesburger for sponsoring sustainable burgers, Lithuanian Exhibition and Congress Center Litexpo, news website Delphi, and Vilnius Van Dennis. With these words, I would like to wish you all a fruitful day and interesting discussions on very topical issue, artificial intelligence and sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador.
Yes, indeed, it's a pleasure to host the 10th conference, and I think it should not stop, because thinking about sustainability, discussing about sustainability, it's a process. And it's my pleasure to invite Elina Valtonen, the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Finland, Member of Parliament, Digitalization and Technological Development enthusiast.
The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ms. Elina Valtonen, is a fourth-term Member of Parliament of Finland, Deputy Chair of the National Coalition Party, and mother of 2 children. She has been serving as the Minister for Foreign Affairs since June 2023.
In Parliament, Elina has served as Vice Chair of Foreign Affairs Committee, and in the Defense Committee, Finance Committee, and Grant Committee. Elina has chaired the Finnish delegation to the NATO Parliamentary Assembly and served a deputy member for the Finnish delegation to the Council of Europe.
And it's interesting. Before entering politics, Ms. Valtonen worked abroad in the private sector in various countries, including for 10 years in the financial sector in Copenhagen and London. A former computer programmer, she has been involved in setting up several growth companies.
Dear Elina Valtonen, floor is yours.
It will be recording.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to address the 10th Nordic-Baltic Sustainable Business Summit. The topic, Artificial Intelligence and Sustainability, Taking Care of Tomorrow, demonstrates how AI can be used to influence company sustainability and promote the creation of technologies that allow businesses to work together for sustainability. The current world is a technological and digital one. The world is moving very fast, and ideas are moving even faster. New technologies change how people interact and how societies function. They reshape how we engage with each other and with the world. Digital transformation and artificial intelligence is today the global engine of sustainable economic growth. Digitalization and technology take center stage in basically everything, in how societies develop in international relations. How this all plays out depends on us. With the right policies, with the right tools that represent our values, we can shape the future in ways that promote inclusive, sustainable growth. This challenge cannot be solved within political, geographical, or cultural silos. We acknowledge the need for cross-sector, cross-boundary collaboration to build on the best ideas and achievements from around the world. A few words on 3 topics. In essence, I think these are the cornerstones on why Finland has been successful in building our systems. First, we need to get the skills and principles right. Without digital skills and connectivity, new technologies are of little value. Technology is useless unless the users want to use it and can use it. We need to invest in lifelong learning, ensure that people have opportunities to reskill and upskill throughout their working lives. This is especially important for women, as they are likely to be employed in industries that are of higher risk of automation. Women are also systematically underrepresented in the ICT sector. Secondly, internet governance and digitalization are no longer purely a technical issue, but increasingly a political and geopolitical concern. Digital rules and regulations that build on democratic values and human rights matter. International tech giants have stepped onto the global stage with a magnitude and influence that exceeds that of many countries. Their societal responsibility have to correspond with their influence. Third, my favorite topic, trust. I think there are 3 cornerstones when dealing with trust. First, security. Data and services have to be secure, a guaranteed data integrity that protects the individual. The second is equity. All services have to be equally available to everyone regardless of social status, demographics, or physical locations. The third is transparency. People should be able to see their data and how it is utilized. Building trust is always a long process. Trust must be earned, but we also have to be reminded that trust can also be lost very quickly if it is not continuously respected. Ladies and gentlemen, we need a vision, a digital ambition and a plan forward. We need to put the individual and her rights at the center, at the same time ensuring that people's safety and fundamental rights are protected. We can work together to formulate a set of digital principles such as access for all to the internet, a secure online space, the right to learn digital skills, algorithms that respect people. These important principles will complement the legal rights that are already in use, like the protection of personal data or the freedom of expression. We embrace new technologies, but we stand by our values. Ladies and gentlemen, technology is too important to be left to the technologists only. We should ensure that technology serves us as humans. It is up to us to use this technology wisely and create a better future for everyone, everywhere. Let's work together to achieve this goal. I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to the summit, and I wish everyone a very good summit and interesting discussions. Thank you so much.
It was Elina Valtonen, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Finland. And now it's time to introduce my colleague and co-moderator Audronie Aliosiute-Paulauskiene, Sustainability Manager at Novaturas Group. Audronie is a sustainability expert with 20 plus years of experience in business, in government, and in NGO sector. She's skilled in consulting and advising organizations on how to create and implement sustainable strategies and activities. Audronie collaborates with various organizations to promote business sustainability.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure also to introduce Piotr Haidecki, Business Finland. And Piotr holds degree in digital transformation, so that's why we are so happy to have you here. He's economist and lawyer, and he has nearly 20 years of experience in international economic cooperation. He gained that experience as a trade diplomat. He was executive director of many chambers and many economic enterprises. At the moment, Piotr is
Senior advisor at Business Finland.
Business Finland.
Right. Thank you very much. Flying from Helsinki last Tuesday, I was thinking how to introduce the topic, how to integrate the topic of artificial intelligence and sustainability. And I realized that it's a good idea to introduce it referring to scientific consensus. Such consensus has been published 3 years ago in Nature magazine with strong contribution of Swedish scientists from KTH, Royal Institute of Technology. And the consensus says that AI can enable accomplishment of 134 sustainable development goals. But on the other hand, the consensus says also that AI can inhibit accomplishment of 59 sustainable development goals. In my opinion, it is a message of huge opportunity related of deploying artificial intelligence for sustainability, but on the other hand, it's a signal that there are some concerns, some challenges or some issues to be addressed. And we promise that we will discuss both this potential and also concerns and issues at the Today Summit, both in the presentations and also in the discussion. We invite you to prepare questions to the speakers. Please, Audronie, explain the procedure related to questions.
Well, the procedure will be, of course, well, not artificial intelligence, but at least IE. So please scan the code and you can write your questions. We believe that we will have a lot of questions and we will be definitely using the opportunity if we will have time after the speakers to ask few questions, urgent questions to the speaker's topic during the presentations. But in general, if you want to ask question, please use the Slido application. You just have to scan QR code or type the number 1974624.
We truly encourage you to prepare and raise your questions in the discussion. And now it's time for the first speaker. The presentation will be about financial institutions' role and rules on sustainability. And the presentation will be delivered by Annina Tanhuanpa from OP Bank, Finland.
And Alina is ESG and Sustainability Director for OP Financial Group. She is a board member of OP Fund Management. Alina is also a member for Sustainability Reporting Board in EFRAG when she represents European banks. Before current leading role of sustainability, she led the OP Financial Group's regularity affairs and ECB supervision. Before joining OP Financial Group, Annina worked in the Finnish Ministry of Finances as a legislative councillor.
Annina Tanhuanpa, ECG and Sustainability Director at OP Financial Group. Annina, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's the light is on? Good. Can you hear me? Very nice. Warm thank you for inviting me to Lithuania and to your amazing seminar. I'm very pleased that even though the weather is quite snowy at the moment, my flight was not delayed and I'm able to be here in person. And would you believe if I say that there was much less snow in Helsinki, even though I came from north? I have divided my presentation into two parts. Firstly, I want to talk about sustainability in the financial sector, and then I want to move after that to sustainable data management or ESG-related data management, and then finally to AI. The reason for that is that it's better to talk about first the drivers and kind of the topics that we are discussing at the moment in the financial sector, because they are the data, they are directly the data needs that we are having. If you want, you can interrupt me at any time with your questions or then save them at the end of the presentation. I am happy either way. The way we divide a little bit kind of the drivers for the financial sector of the sustainability. We obviously talk about new business opportunities. We are providing sustainable finance to our customers. We are providing sustainable investments to our customers and we are ensuring business that can be related to sustainability factors. So all three angles from our point of view, finance, investment and insurance are included. Obviously, by providing services to our customers, we enable them to reach their sustainability targets, because finance is like blood circulation for the economy. Without investments, without money, green transition does not happen. Any public money in any country is not enough to meet the Paris Climate Agreement goals, and therefore the private sector, i.e. banks, investment companies, asset managers, insurance companies are much needed. What we also see is a very strong growth in the stakeholder expectations for the financial sector, what we are expected to do. It's not only our customers who are expecting us to do more, it's also our employees. And the younger the generation we are talking about, the more expectations they have, which is right. It's about their future at the end of the day that is on stake. And we have seen, especially in Finland, that there is a bigger kind of a need for more discussions or more frequent discussions between the NGOs and banks. We get quite a lot of inquiries from different NGOs, and they want to talk about our sustainability goals. Of course, external commitments like Paris Agreement, Paris Climate Agreement is one very key driver for us, for our sustainability work. UN human rights policies and so on. There are a lot of initiatives that we follow very closely, and we, to the extent possible, we want to accommodate our business and our sustainability strategy to meet these the expectations from these external commitments. And then we are operating in the, I would say, most heavily regulated industry, as one can imagine. Everything that can be regulated either has been already regulated in the financial sector or it is in the pipeline to be regulated. So there's a lot of very heavy regulation around sustainability. I will talk about it very briefly after a couple of slides, and then also the supervisory expectations are growing a lot. We are being supervised by the European Central Bank in our banking business, and ECB has very deep requirements for the banks to meet their expectations regarding climate and environmental risk management, because at the end of the day it's about the risk profile of the bank that is in question. Very briefly, sustainability in OP Financial Group is really in the core of our work, because it's one of the sustainable or sustainability or responsible business is one of the strategic priorities, and also responsibility, one of the core values. The values have been here for decades. It's not something that we have newly invented, that it's a good idea to put responsibility to our values. This has actually has been there for decades, and it really resonates to our personnel. We did an internal survey on the values last year, and responsibility got most hits from the personnel. This is something that really feels close to our employees' hearts. I want to show some figures about the increased stakeholder expectations or stakeholder interest. These are, at least to us, quite stopping numbers in a way that we have seen a massive increase in the demand of the sustainable finance. At the end of third quarter, our portfolio for green loans and sustainability-linked loans was up to 1.15 billion euros. And all the graphics are going to northeast all the time. We see increase on increase, and this is a good thing, because by this the companies are able to do green transition, and the societies are becoming greener. This is a very important and essential tool for us for this work. The same applies to investments. We have seen now that nearly 60% of our mutual funds can be accounted as responsible mutual funds. This is a classification which is based on the criteria of Articles 9 and 8 in the SFDR regulation. But if we talk about not just the hard numbers, just studies that we have done and what we have seen, we are doing a very large survey to our owner customers. We have 2.1 owner customers in Finland, and nearly 50,000 have replied to us this year what kind of expectations they have for our sustainability work. And this is an important message for us, of course, what they are expecting us to do, and we listen to that survey very carefully. We see the same kind of results also in other surveys. We did one survey last year to new mutual fund investors, that how many choose a sustainable fund. Almost 80%. It's a lot. And in the COVID year 21, OP's climate fund was the Finland's most popular fund. It's a little bit surprising also that even though there was a pandemic situation at the same time, still the climate change related issues were that popular. And then something which is in the core of most companies' table or in the sustainability work is the value chain discussion. And we have done a large corporate survey for over a decade now, and we have seen, especially in the last survey, that the increasing number of large corporates feel a pressure to update their value chains to meet their own sustainability targets that are being placed either through regulation or stakeholder expectations or external commitments or initiatives like Paris Agreement. And this is something that we in the bank has to take very seriously, because obviously also the smaller clients, smaller SME clients have to be taken on board for the green transition. I will now just jump a little bit over the slides. I noticed that I've used almost half of the time that was allocated to me. Just very briefly. Our corporate loan portfolios have been aligned to meet the Paris Agreement goals of the carbon neutrality by 2050. This means that we have to work really hard to meet these goals, because we have a massive portfolio. Our market share in Finland is about 40%. And this means a very close cooperation with our clients. We have just set sector-specific carbon emission reduction targets for 3 main sectors. One of them is energy production. This is something I'm sure that this resonates also in the Baltics. Energy sector is in a way, high-risk sector for the climate change, and any measures that are being taken in this sector have a huge impact on others when the energy production becomes greener. Agriculture is something that we are having a look in Finland, and also the home loans, even though the linkage between the energy intensity production and greening of the home loans per individuals, for example, like myself, is through the energy production carbon emissions, because the vast majority of the Finnish households' carbon emissions become from heating. So when the heating systems and energy production becomes greener, that immediately has an impact on the housing loan CO2 emissions. I just briefly mentioned that these targets will be met in close cooperation with our clients. Few words about sustainability regulation, because this is something that has a very close linkage to ESG-related data management, and by that, IE. We are facing a lot of different regulatory requirements at the moment. EU taxonomy is one. Pillar 3 ESG disclosures for our transition and physical risk in our banking book. Also, EBA, European Banking Authority, is expecting banks like OP to include ESG factors to loan origination. All these are data needs from the clients, one way or the other. On top of this, we are also facing requirements for the Corporate Sustainability Directive, which will be effective as of 1st of January next year. And largest companies in the Baltics, largest companies in Europe, Finland, will face the same requirements, and that means that there are a lot of data needs, data gaps also. So all these regulations are feeding to our ESG-related data management questions and our sustainability work overall. Also, it's not just about carbon emissions. We are also having a close look on the biodiversity. I will now, given being aware of the time, I'm focusing on the finance and biodiversity and regulation and supervisor just very briefly, but just to get the idea that all the economies in Europe and in the world are dependent on the ecosystem that the nature provides us for free at the moment. And more than half of the world's GDP depends on nature and its services. And through our loan origination, through our financing, we have a very strong linkage to these nature's economic services, and that's why we need to take this issue very seriously. Estimate, analyze our portfolios so that we understand in which way our clients are dependent on nature and what kind of risk that strong dependency on the biodiversity and environmental loss will have on their operations. And therefore we have taken this already on our drawing board and analyzed our loan portfolios so that we understand where the impacts are most obvious. And this week there was a conference in Finland about biodiversity in the financial sector, and there was a very clear message that if you destroy nature, you destroy economy. And this is the reason why this is at the very core of the bank's environmental risk management. Also, another topic is human rights. We see that this is something that we have to take very seriously as well, because especially through our value chains and through our customer operations, we are exposed to a lot of these questions, especially if the operations take place outside of Europe. Europe is not that safe haven as one could think. We have also human rights issues in Finland, and I'm sure that you have them in the Baltics. They are everywhere where humans are. But this is something that has become also on the bank's agenda. So basically, from this kind of magnitude or this kind of frameworks, we are pulling the data needs, the ESG-related data management and how we are doing it. I will explain it now. Firstly, we are thinking this two ways. It's, on the other hand, a very good ESG-related data management, good quality data about the customers, obviously helps to serve customers better, but it also helps us to meet all the requirements that we face. So it goes both ways. It is an interaction. And before we can do this, handle the ESG-related data well, we need to systemize the processes and the IT tools. We have conducted a large analysis on the different working streams that we, for instance, have. And we found out that we have everything in the field of ESG, everything between size XS to XXXL, and everything in between. And we have to somehow squeeze these ESG-related data initiatives or streams to the same package so that we can handle it. And therefore, kind of a systemization and good, robust framework for data collection and understanding all the data needs, understanding all the ongoing initiatives is the first step. To me, without doing this properly, it's too early or premature to talk about utilizing IE in the ESG. Otherwise, I use a little bit weird example, but let's imagine that using IE is like decorating a cake, putting whipped cream and cherries or whatever you want to put. But if the baseline is not okay, it's like starting the decoration before you have even taken the eggs out of the fridge and flour from the bag. So that's why building a robust baseline is key, and that's something that we have done now. Obviously, we see that data and the software is everything. Everything is related to data. Money, loans, all the transactions, investments, it's all about data. The data that we gather from our clients or the data that we produce internally through different analyses or that we buy or acquire somehow externally. But we see that most of the services that we are providing at the moment, financing or investments and so on, are still created with relatively traditional information processes, even though we are even though we are building them and developing them all the time. But still, it's traditional in many ways. And we have to make sure that we are building the AI for the good solid base. The way I see it is that what we could, for example, use for the AI in the ESG field is, for example, carbon 2 emissions, that kind of calculation, that kind of analysis, because these are concrete numbers that are there. I briefly explained what we have done already, that we have ensured that we have systemic data collection, because AI needs a lot of data before you can build reliable systems. And sharing the data across the organization is important so that we don't acquire or handle the same data many times. It's relatively frequent that the same data is being handled differently at the same time in the different parts of the organization, and cutting the multitasking or duplicating the work is essential, and having a centralized view on what are the data needs is a key, because that is the only way to enhance the quality, a good quality data, and also the reliability of it. Then briefly about the AI. Data obviously is an advantage, and for the forerunners this can gain a lot of competitive advantages. What we are seeing is that AI can serve well as a partner to the employees, not a replacement. so that together, once there is a solid base of ESG data, that you can build upon new systems, new ideas, new ways of working, then together with humans, that creates the best possible outcomes. I will jump that. We have done a lot of different AI steps already, and we are now obviously investigating what kind of topics we can do in the future. But the initiatives that we have conducted now, they are based on the a large amount of information. So, for example, some areas where we utilize AI at the moment is the credit assessment of credit worthiness of the customer, or you can utilize it for assessing the price of your house when you are selling it, these sort of issues. But there's a lot of data behind. And before we can build for the ESG, that kind of assessment, there has to be a lot of data at the background. And as the data needs and the requirements are developing, it has to be done in a solid manner and step by step. And at the same time, making sure that the AI is being used in a responsible way, because AI is learning what we are teaching it to do, and some of the biases that we humans have can be very easily translated to the AI biases. And therefore, for example, the human rights topics, which were just briefly presented, are something that has to be taken into account. So the responsible AI management is a key, so that we are doing responsible business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anina, please stay with us on the stage, because we have first question.
Okay. Yes, there are actually even 3 questions, and one is directly related to your presentation, but I think you can just make a summary.
Yeah.
How is OP using AI for environmental sustainability?
Sorry, how is OP?
How is your bank using artificial intelligence for environmental sustainability?
At the moment, we are not using AI. So what we are doing is we are in this ESG data-related management phase, and we are building on top of that. But at the moment, currently, we are not utilizing it, because, like I explained, the kind of the groundwork is quite heavy, and it's not just OP-related issue. It's related to all the financial sector players, and also for the large corporates. The requirements are so massive. But it will be there in the future.
Yeah, and one more question, since I hope we have time still for one more question. How are you gathering such complex data, keeping in mind that even CO2 is calculated based on combination of financial, supplier-specific, and extrapolated data?
Very good question. We are using the data from different sources. We have our own internal data that we have gathered from the client along the relationship with the client. Then we are, for the companies who are publishing their own CO2 emissions, we are utilizing the public data that they have published. And when we were putting together our carbon emission reduction targets for certain sectors, we actually read a lot of companies' own sustainability targets when they are available. And then from time to time, we have to buy the data. Luckily, in the scope of CO2 emissions and in the climate, the purchased data is available. Obviously, it is expensive, but it's there. So I would say that we are combining the data from 3 different sources. Our internal data, the data that our clients publish or deliver us as per our request, and then purchased data.
And one more question, if Piotr will allow. Artificial intelligence is largely driven by consumption of service economy. Are regular users going to be able to control cost and to be encouraged to use services that, like smart charging?
That's true. The cost-saving aspect is obviously something that comes along with the AI. We have seen that when we have been able to transfer some of the groundwork tasks from human to AI, like chatbots or some analyzing tools. It brings cost savings, but still I want to highlight that it's not a replacement of the human work. It is substituting, doing it together. So it's not replacement. I don't believe in that kind of solutions at all. I see that especially in the sustainability. It is a teamwork still between human and tech.
Thank you, Anina. If there is any urgent question from the audience, we have a mic. No? Thank you very much. I think it's really interesting, and I believe that financial sector is the one who will lead.
It was Anina Tanhuanpa, ECG and Sustainability Director at OP Financial Group. And now we go to the next presentation, this time about business applications of AI language models. And the presentation will be delivered by Mr. Toomas Mottus, Prement Group, Estonia.
Toomas is CEO of the group, and he creates solutions for people that want to make their companies more successful. Information technology, telecommunication association, these are the interests of Toomas. He's a board member of several associations, and he's very active in Estonia, helping to promote technology use in different fields, especially in healthcare and education.
Toomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. These large language models, I think everybody has within last year tried out ChatGPT or some other model, or even if you have not tried it out personally, those models have become so popular that everybody in IT, who is anybody, is integrating those models into the products right now. So even if you don't know that you are using those models, you are actually in the background if you are using Google Search, Bing Search, or some other products, then in the background you are using those models already right now. And when we're looking at back in history, then those neural network models are actually not new. There has been research in those models for decades now, and the difference, what has happened lately, is that the amount of data that can be computationally analyzed has increased quite rapidly due to advances in hardware and also software. So in previous times, when you had some kind of data that you wanted to do some model teaching or model training, at some point adding additional nodes into your model or additional layers into your model, it didn't make any difference anymore, and sometimes you even got the worst results. So this is what has changed, that we can have really large models because we have really large amounts of data. So we have companies that can collect all the data from internet, compile it, and make training on that data. And if you're looking at this last year, then I think the biggest change what has happened actually is that we have additional skills which are built on top of those models. These are this chatbot skill, these are some kind of categorization skill, and it's also called computational reasoning, these kinds of additional skills. And if you combine those skills, you get a product like ChatGPT. Obvious question, will it take over the world? And short answer is, it has already taken the world over and you haven't even noticed it. So it took, for mobile phones, it took 16 years to reach 100 million penetration. For ChatGPT, it took 3 months, and now everybody is integrating those products into this ChatGPT, into all these models and skills into the products. And the biggest problem what I see in this industry right now is actually the restrictions of entering into the business. Because if you're looking at that model that was the mainstream model last year, this GPT-3 model, then by industry analysts, cost of training that model was just 4.6 million euros, or in that range. And just by adding additional layers to the model and adding 1/3 of data, you have 20-fold increase in price. And if you want even like better models, which have more layers, more data, then we have like a model that training will cost probably $1 billion. And there are just a couple of companies in the world that can afford this kind of investment. And there are no companies and there are no nations in Europe that are ready to make this kind of investment. And that is, from Europe perspective, I see it as the biggest problem right now. But from like this bad things, let's come to opportunities. So what the business problems that OpenAI and other large language models try to resolve right now are all related to data. This is like obvious. And the problems that companies usually have, if you're a small company, you don't have enough data. And if you're a large company, you sometimes have too much data and everybody has no time. So these are like the most obvious things that we all have. With not enough data, what GPT models provide you, they provide you this baseline. What is average on internet? So if you add on top of that model, GPT model, your own company data, that like changes the scales and the model starts answering questions that are relevant to your business. And this happens quite easily. You just need to add a couple of documents into that model and it already like works. In those previous small models, it required you to do trainings on thousands of documents, which was like very, very hard and expensive. But here, those large companies have done this like baseline investment, and you just, with small amount of additional money, can do this additional training and get the data that is relevant for your business. But as I said, if they want one day say that I will not give you that base model, then you are in a deep, you know what. Another thing is that if you have too much data and you don't know how you can get information out, or relevant information out from your data, then and that situation also, these GPT models provide you the baseline. So you have baseline and you apply that baseline to your own data and you get relevant entities, numbers, things that are different from baseline, and these relevant numbers are the things that you have to concentrate on. And if you combine those two capabilities, you get those skills in GPT models that help you to summarize data, categorize data, get fast insights, and these skills help you to concentrate on the most valuable part of this job you have. So you can spend less time on collecting data, you can spend less time on like converting data into usable form, and so on, and prioritizing everything. So, as I said, these like the key thing here is skills. You know, it's not like just model, because if we're looking at applications, then these are skills, and OpenAI, other companies are actually already providing you the model. Facebook has actually published 2 large language models for free. You can just go download and build your own skills on that. So the barriers are actually quite low right now, but you have to know how to build those skills. How to build skills for text generation so that you can get this text out of this model. You need to build category skills. And this is really great thing. We are using this extensively in our own company because it used to be so that if you wanted some kind of customer request to be categorized, then you needed to supply thousands of emails with already pre-prepared categories, and then you can train the model. Now you can just say that I had like these 15 categories, choose from those categories which is, by your thinking, the most adequate, and usually it's right. So, and you don't have to do anything than just to supply the categories, because the base model is already available. And data mining, which is also like a skill, so that you get the most relevant those entities from the text, which are different from baseline, and everything else you just can how to say, compact and relieve those entities, and you get the summary of the data. So I will talk briefly about 3 scenarios, and it will be really very brief, because in technical terms I can, about every scenario probably I can tell a full day seminar. But if you're looking at the summarization, this is one of the things that most of business professionals are, how to say, trying to find ways to do it fast, because you have a lot of meetings, you have a lot of documents you have to review, and how you can like take the time. But you, for example, you have to read some document, and it's like 2 hours of reading, and how can you make it into like this very concentrated, like 10 points of action that you have to do based on the document. And GPT model can take the document and in a couple of seconds create you the 10 action points. These action points may not be the right ones, but if you're reading that document personally, there is no guarantee that your own points are 100% right. So in that sense, it gives you the points where you can start. Maybe it's not fully 100% true, but at least you can do it in seconds instead of 2 hours. So the process usually is so that if it's like a conversation, it can transcribe, it create it into text, analyze it, it detects persons who are speaking, the subjects they are speaking about, and some those like agreements that people are coming to. And then it will create, using this logic that it has already built in these models, create a summary and action points, and you can like put that into an output, but you can also translate it. For example, in our own company, if customer sends us a request, and we have international teams where you have requests coming in several languages, but the person who has to answer or like at least supervise those specialists in, for example, in Latvia, and doesn't speak Estonian or Lithuanian, then this model creates a short summary in English, and everyone in team can understand what the customer was asking for. So, and this happens in seconds. So instead of needing some kind of professional who is doing the same level of translation. Another scenario which is very useful is detecting, creating those categories. Usually when you have requests coming in, you need to understand what is like the subject, or what is like an area where you have to do it. If it's like, is it like some kind of person wants to buy something, or is it like, does he have some kind of problem with some situation, or is it just some general request from a journalist or whatever? This system can do this categorization instantly. And it doesn't do it, of course, it doesn't do it 100% correctly, but it gives you the first insight. And what if a person does the same process, it doesn't always do the 100% correctly, because this is like the first insight where you have to start resolving the problem. It's not like the core reason for that problem, but where to start. And if in the process that core reason can change, because as you delve deeper, you understand more about the problem, and the core reason may change, but it gives you the place where to start. And the third is like this understanding the meaning of document. Of course, a model doesn't understand the meaning. It's like a computational reasoning, but it understands, if you add all those words together in a model, it understands like what's like the direction of that message you have. And then you can, if you have some questions, based on your question direction, it can match the direction of the text and say that probably that part of text matches the best your direction of question. And it can also, it happens in seconds or even less, and then it creates a nice text from that and answers it to you. So these are, I think, currently in business are the three most easily implementable scenarios. And there's always a question, should we do something ourselves or should we use ready-made products? As I said, there is like a huge amount of products coming to market already. Microsoft, as one of the leaders, already has promised to have everything in Office, and there should be already something, but it's not available in our markets yet. But basically, Microsoft has promised that it will have answers in your company context based on your data. The context of the data will be in your domain. It will not be outside. Like with ChatGPT, it's a public service in the United States. Microsoft has promised that all the things will be in Europe. And I think this is important for ourselves also, whatever the models are that we are using. Then you can have some insight into data. As I said, that it will understand the parts of data that you need to access based on this question semantics. And prioritization. I think every business professional knows that when you come to office on Monday morning, you have 50 emails, and which one is the most important? It's always a question. So system can do the prioritization, and you can go from there. And meetings. If you are a business professional, you have tens of meetings, sometimes even meetings in parallel. It happens, yeah. But you can tell Copilot, Microsoft has a name for a product of Copilot, please follow that meeting and please make a summary and key action points from that meeting. So you don't have to be in person in all the meetings, because majority of meetings are information sharing. They are not making decisions, but just information sharing. And if you can concentrate 1 hour meeting into 4 lines of text and some action points, then who doesn't like it? But yeah, and about risks, I would say that if you are building those models, everything those models tell you, it's not absolute truth. They are sometimes dreaming. It's like social media. It's full of opinions, but very few facts. And the same thing is with GPT models. They have these opinions because most of internet is about opinions, not that much about facts. And GPT models will also give you more opinions than facts. So you have to be very diligent there. If you are using those models, please try to keep them in EU. Otherwise, you will have a lot of problems in compliance afterwards. And as with all technology, please use it, because if you are not actively developing it yourself, your employees will use some rogue services, and this will be a headache afterwards. It has been always that way. It was with smartphones that way, it was with email that way, it was with file sharing that way, and it will certainly be with GPT things this way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Please stay with us in case we have any questions from the audience, maybe from the application. Do you have any questions?
Well, there is one question in the application. How artificial intelligence can be used in service, hospitality business?
Yeah, you have a lot of opportunities to build bots, so that if a person writes nowadays, if you younger generations, they don't want to pick a phone and call you, they just want to write you. So if you are taking those bots, you can use it to understand what is a person talking about, and these are a lot more powerful than usual, like these workflow-based models that used to be popular previously. It will understand the general context what the person wants, and you can build processes around it. It will not be cheap right now, but and you also this Bank person told us about this, like tendencies of people to be like, you had to like how to say, you may not discriminate people based on anything. So if you have hospitality or any kind of business, you can check with these models, these communications you have within your organization and outside of your organization, so that you can be sure that there is not like any kind of discrimination, and it can be done very transparently and non-invasively.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you accept the question from the moderator, I would like to ask. Okay. So the question relates to the actually fear in the society that the artificial intelligence can take a job or can deprive us with the jobs. Yeah. But on the other hand, there are new professions emerging, like, for example, artificial intelligence prompter, which is kind of trainer of artificial intelligence. And the question to you as a practitioner, what should be the profile, ideal profile of such a AI prompter? What qualities he or she should have?
Oh, it's a hard question. It's a moving target, because those models are always evolving and getting better, and what you had to know about those models like yesterday is completely different. I used to be great in Google search, because when Google search came, I took documentation and read it through, and I knew all the keywords, pluses, commas, and everything you had to put into search to get the right results. But nowadays I'm starting typing it already knows what I want. So with these GPT models, I think the same thing is that as you are using those models and it like collects history of your previous conversations, it will start giving better and better results, and what you specifically write into current prompt doesn't matter that much anymore.
Okay, thank you very much. Any question from the audience? Please.
I can ask like that.
I will bring you a microphone. Thanks. Raz.
Even got two microphones. You said about ChatGPT and OpenAI that's not very safe to share company data.
No. I said that the OpenAI, as is
Yeah.
a United States-based company,
Yes.
and everything you are inputting that will go to United States. So be careful what you are put into that chat interface. Yeah?
Is it safe?
I think it's safe, because this OpenAI is a data company, and they know the value of data, and they will certainly keep your data secure, but it's an issue of compliance. So you may have some very big compliance issues if someone comes to audit you and discovers it.
Okay. Do you think your company data could be shared or sold to other companies?
It definitely will be used in model training, but the amount that you are typing it by hand, the amount of data you can input into that model is so tiny that it will not affect anything in that model. So or the model like this, like impact on that model is so small, the probability that those data will be in some way published from the model is like impossible, basically.
I heard some examples that someone was typing some confidential data from the company, and then this data spread around to other companies. My question is, maybe, have you heard if any companies in Europe have any internal policies when it comes to use of ChatGPT or OpenAI?
I don't know about that, but I would recommend using European Union services, because all those services that ChatGPT provides are actually also available from European providers.
Yeah.
It's just you might have problems with some skills. Maybe all the skills are not available in Europe right now. But the models themselves are all available.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the audience or from the application?
No, at the
If
moment.
not, I think we can stop here. So it
Thank
was
you.
Thomas Motto, CEO of Prement Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And it's our pleasure to announce the other speaker just before the coffee break with Pauline Coffee and Hesburger sandwiches. And it's Saulius Martinėnas, access control and artificial intelligence. Access control plus artificial intelligence equals a key to more sustainable buildings. So it's buildings.
I will add that Saulius is a security industry newcomer, proponent of open technologies, believer in data-driven decision-making, cycling enthusiast, and, unbeknown to himself, a dog person. Please, Saulius, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, hello. It's a pleasure being here and an honor. Well, now I just heard that I have a time pressure because I suppose everyone wants coffee. So I will do my best to put the highlights and the message, deliver the message as fast as I can. Well, to begin with, I have a question to you. How many of you have taken a cold shower today? Okay, I would say 1%. Okay. How many of you used public transportation to get here? Better. Okay. Okay. How many of you have consciously turned out the temperature at your offices or home by at least 1 degree centigrade consciously? Not as many as public transportation, but some did. Okay, great. Why did I ask this? Well, as the intro said, we, as access control company, we work with construction, we work with buildings and the way people use the buildings. And why I'm here in front of you with some message today is exactly related to how, oh, wrong button, sorry. Related to how we behave and how we use the buildings, sometimes consciously, sometimes not. So here is what it is all about today. So, speaking of buildings and environment and sustainability, I will show you some facts, but what I wanted to highlight that when we deal in our business, in our industry with a building, basically we start and we are involved in basically every step of the building's lifetime process, starting from planning, going through managing the construction itself, then the usage, the maintenance, and then the commissioning. And all these activities actually are very tightly related to what the buildings or how the buildings affect the environment. So we have energy use, we have water use, we have waste, we have inefficiencies, So all these things actually have pretty big impact on the environment we are in. So just to give you the perspective, I would like to show you the numbers. These are not anything of a huge secret. These are taken from public sources, so they can be verified. You can look them up. But basically, what's happening, no secret, the population on Earth is growing, and is growing at an impressive pace. So in the last decade or so, it's grown by almost 20%. What does it mean? We are creatures that prefer comfort, right? So actually we are inclined to use the buildings. We spend more than half of our life inside the buildings, like we are today. So what does it mean for the environment? Almost 40% of CO2 emissions are generated by the construction industry. So we speak a lot of transportation, we speak a lot of construction. Those are two major industries affecting the carbon emissions. 3/4 of that come from the daily use of a building. So meaning if we try to narrow down the scope of the presentation, of the discussion, it means that this is the part. So the buildings, like after it's been constructed, and you have started using those buildings, this is where the major consumption of energy, of water resources, of light, etc., etc. This is where it comes from. The fun fact is, again, based on scientific publications, that 40% of the energy that we use in the buildings is actually, consciously or not, being wasted. Same is with fresh water. Construction industry is responsible for 17% of the global freshwater usage, and estimated losses or wasting is somewhere between 30 and 50%. So when we speak of waste, we have to understand, or I would like for you to note that the waste is something that is used completely without a purpose. Meaning that if we eliminate that waste, it will make better for the environment without even affecting our daily habits. Even I won't discuss whether they are good or bad for the environment, but even without the effect, if we manage to eliminate those, we can create much more sustainable industry, which is responsible for 40%, almost 40% of carbon emissions globally. Well, so, okay, is it an interesting, a good goal to eliminate waste in construction industry? Probably you would agree with me, right? I like to think that we help to do that. So, okay, first of all, we have to measure the use. What do we need to do? So the construction industry certificates, the standards, BREEAM, LEED, etc., nowadays demand that in order to get a certification, you need to measure how you use energy, how you use water, how much waste to produce, etc., etc. So you need to understand what's happening, and construction industry does that already for many years. However, what it is not yet discussed, and what where we are moving towards, is actually getting the data on the purpose of the usage. Why there is a light in this hall or in this building? Why we have the heating in this conference room or in another conference room? And this is so this data is available. This is another portion of data which is available from access control, so the industry we work in. However, those two yet have not been properly merged and analyzed for the benefit which I just presented, for the benefit to eliminate the waste. So once we have those two, we can analyze patterns, we can see whether we use the resources purposefully or not, and of course then we can make changes, we can make decisions. And these two parts, this is exactly where we see AI coming in. So the speakers before me highlighted, I think, it very well, that what AI brings in to the industry is exactly the capability to analyze enormous amounts of data very quickly and to draw, let's say, I call those like vectors, meaning the direction patterns on how we could change something for the better. So this is the major change that is still just starting to come into our industry, affecting our industry. However, this will probably be happening in many industries as well. So just a very quick simplistic example on how this data is being gathered and then what is happening. So basically, even now, when we run the product, we can have, or if you imagine that this is the plan of the building, so what data the companies have usually, they are exactly the sensors. Okay, we know the temperature in this room, we know what the energy consumption for this part of or for the whole building floor is. So we can have, yes, one sensor, we can have a couple of different sensors for another room. What access control provides is actually what is happening with actual usage, how many people at each part of a day, at each moment of time, are actually entering or exiting the premises. So this is the data which is the purpose data to the building usage. And out of that, when we can combine the sensors and when we use the access control data, we can get something like heat maps. Okay, at this part of the day, there were this and that many people using the premises. So the typical analysis can be provided as a chart nowadays, which is like manual inside looking, and we can start telling that, okay, there was something that in the morning maybe we didn't need to have the heat at 20 degrees. It was enough to keep it at 18, but then at 9:30 we should have started preheating it a bit because people will start coming. So analyzing just single sensor, a single room or single string of data, it can happen manually, and many building managers are trying to do that. So yesterday Petra and I had a quick chat about that, and I gave an example. So even our office building manager is doing similar things manually nowadays. So at 6 o'clock, especially in summer, air conditioning turns off in the building, and if you happen to stay a bit longer to work, then it means you either have to go and open the window to let the fresh air in, or to leave the work because it becomes impossible in the summer hours when it's sun blazing into the windows. So this is something that creates discomfort. This is something that still encourages waste, because it's not, the building behavior is not tailored to the use of people. So where we see the direction going is exactly the AI helping us to make very informed decisions very quickly, and what it can lead to. Of course, reduced maintenance, meaning that then we know that, okay, so air conditioning has been operating for that many hours, maybe we have to service that now or a bit later. We can know which premises are underutilized and maybe they can be rented out. It means that we can bring more people and of course have less waste on the general utilities and services. Ventilation, heating, light control, even balancing with other services. For instance, if we are purchasing electricity or purchasing even maintenance services based on the time tariffs, we could understand that, okay, at this part of the day or a part of the week or part of the year, we can get a better rates, and we get an insight whether we can match it with how people use the building. Oh, I'll focus here then. And we can get the insights on the data usage. So, all this talk, I wanted to show you that it is very realistic and very influential for each and every company operating in construction or building management business. Why? I just took an example of a recent project in Vilnius which we are involved in, and here is a back of a envelope calculation for you. So the numbers are very, very realistic. So it's a new business center, A++ class, 15,000 square meters, and estimated annual energy consumption. So I'm focusing on the single now part of the waste which happens in the building. So statistically, it's about 120, 130 kilowatt hours of energy, of electricity per year, per square meter. So what we get, the estimated consumption is almost 2 gigawatt hours per year. And now, since it's A++ class building, it is probably more efficient than the average, which I showed you the statistics in the beginning. So let's assume that we cannot save 40% in waste. We will only save, the building has a potential for 20% of the savings, and we only save 10%. So set the target pretty low for ourselves. Estimated savings, taking the Nord Pool energy price. So they will probably purchase extra energy that they don't generate themselves. They will purchase at a higher price, but okay, let's be it like this. The number is 17,000 euros. Considering that access control, the whole system, parts and labor, all this information that is necessary for the building to get this optimization costs around 150, 160,000 euros. We get payback time for the system, just 9 years, in just the saved waste, without affecting the people's habits, just by getting the building to follow the habits of the building users more precisely. Does it look good? How many of you would like this business case? Who considers 11% ROI a good investment? Okay, not that many. So are you aiming for more? Okay. Well, so to sum up and to conclude, so I come from the industry that's actually considered by many pretty boring one. Not many are interested in those numbers, constructing the buildings and things like that. So it's not an exciting industry, it's not a startup industry, but it is also affected by the AI. And what we expect to happen, and what we already see happening slowly. First, the information, the data will get the extreme ease of use. Nowadays, if you want to generate an insight, so you go to building management system, you check energy usage trends, you check the bills, you check all these things, and then you try to figure out, okay, so where can I save? You can do like our building manager, cut the air conditioning at 6 p.m., or you can be smarter. So we expect exactly the access control data and the building management sensor data to be fed into the model for extremely quick result and decision making. Another thing is that nowadays the manual adjustment, why those inefficiencies happen? Because people move, people change habits. In the building, we can have one tenant moving out and another moving in, and we can have a completely different usage pattern. However, with AI, the model or output adjustment can happen almost instantaneously as soon as the new data is fed. So we will be seeing the adjustment happening even quicker, and those elimination of waste will be even faster. And like I think Thomas mentioned before me, so the models are constantly evolving. The constant improvement, constant progress, then it is inevitable. And once we get the first few models able to compare buildings, then it will be faster and faster, better and better, and hopefully better for us all. On the other hand, the beauty part comes with the beast usually, and I think Thomas also covered that a bit. I called it a homework machine dilemma. I borrowed it from another speaker on a sustainability topic, but I think it illustrates very well. Oh, excuse me. So there is a child's poem about homework. Homework machine, mighty homework machine. The best contraption the world has ever seen. You put in the homework, drop in the dime, press a few buttons, and in 10 seconds time, a homework comes out, crisp and clean as can be. Let's see what we got. 9 plus 4 equals 3. Oh gee. Perhaps it's not as perfect as I thought it would be. So the errors and mistakes are possible. We always should use them with a grain of salt, but they will be getting better. Another thing, thank you, Piotr, for pointing it out a bit. But we have data centers. If we compare their footprint on the environment, it's the third largest country in the world by carbon footprint after US and China. The data centers in the world would make country number 3. And the thing is that their footprint is growing and growing and growing. So when we are doing something, we have to remember that AI has actually the cost which is hidden somewhere and generating this negative effect a bit. And probably the last message, I took it from a Lithuanian song, my childhood song, and the words go that if you want to change the world, where do you start? Bravo, from yourself. So back to the beginning of the presentation, taking a cold shower, being conscious about your habits and about effect of the environment, it will still be there. We can eliminate waste, we can be more efficient, but it's still about us, about how we look forward, how we think forward, and what we leave to our children. So probably that's a wish from myself to all of us, that no matter how easy we think the systems will make it for us, we should always stay alert, we should always stay conscious, and even if the systems let us cultivate the bad habits, let's try to have those habits better. So for some they come naturally, for some they take some effort, but that's my wish to us all.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Saulius.
Thank you, Solus. There is actually one question. What the process you've just described, is it for general building manager, or it could work for manufacturing operations, analyzing production cycles and its optimization?
I believe that the analysis process or the data matching process is pretty much universal. The question is, of course, whether that data, extra data, adds value to the models that apply to you. So, for building management in particular, I know that AI is being used both in at the initial stages by the architects. When selecting the materials to use in the building, they are used during the construction process itself, then also predictive maintenance and all the things. So it can apply through all the industry, and even that does not sometimes save us from an oversight. A good example is the building in Vilnius Business District, the new building by Daniel Libeskind, this crystal. It looks like it's a very modern building, but still in the morning hours of summer, some reflections are blinding the drivers on one of the major Vilnius streets. So there's something miscalculated, which is a tiny detail. I believe that they definitely use all the best tools available, but still, there was something that they missed.
Thank you very much. And other questions from the audience? If not, I have a question. Actually, it's follow-up of our yesterday discussion we had, but just to introduce the question, so as Saulius validly said that one of the concerns of artificial intelligence raised by this, for example, scientific consensus is electricity consumption, because storing big volumes of data and processing them requires a lot of electricity. There are some estimates that in 2030, ICT sector will consume up to 20% of global energy demand. So it's important to collect and store and process data wisely. And my question is, based on your practitioner's experience, what is the share of data that is collected, that is stored, but is never used?
Well, good question, and actually it hurt me a bit because we had to invest into our product to make additional investment and to change the database from the commercial version to the completely open source version, just for the fact that customers were overusing the limits allowed in the free version of the commercial product very fast. So originally, just a few years ago, it was never a problem. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it became a frequent problem, and we had to think something about that, to do something about that. So as access control, there's a very clear answer. Access control is a security system, and is usually any data stored is accessed mostly in case of incidents. So we can see that, okay, maybe just 3 or 5% of the data are actually useful, or maybe even the issue is that you never know which part of the data will be useful to you. So for access control it is so, but globally I believe that between 80 and 90% of the data, some companies say so, is either obsolete or useless, and this is, I believe, another habit we should start cultivating, understanding actually whether we are storing extra or unneeded data. So let's have another habit on our list.
Thank you very much. Any other question from the application?
No more questions.
Thank you.
Maybe light
What about you?
Coffee, I guess.
Coffee.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So thank you, Saulius Martinėnas, Midpoint Systems.
Yes, thank you.
Good luck with your work.
Thanks, everyone.
And since we're a little bit late, so we still have an hour for the coffee break. So we meet 20 past 12.
And we will have some entertainment for you, the audience, after the break. See you soon. Warming up or kind of entertainment, but meaningful entertainment, showing the potential and also potential risks related to artificial intelligence. One of the concerns related to artificial intelligence is that it can enable tracing people, profiling people, and influencing them. Yeah? And one of examples that actually my students love to practice, it's a tool developed by Psychometric Center of Cambridge University in UK. It is so-called Magic Sauce. And it helps you using your digital footprint to build your psychological profile. So I invite you to try right now how it works. So you can take out your iPhone, you can type apply magic sauce, and you can check the potential of this tool. So number one, it analyzes the digital footprint you leave using social media, and based on this information, it provides you with the psychological profile of the user of social media. There is also one other application that you could upload the text, for example, email from your colleague or your boss, and based on this sample of the text, the tool can provide psychological profile of author of the text. And it shows that artificial intelligence can bring you big potential, but also there are some risks related to it, like profiling, tracking, etc., etc. If not now, please check this tool after the meeting. It's really, it makes fun. But now we can go to our core topic, which is artificial intelligence in context of sustainability.
Yes, and it's my pleasure to invite Suvi Valkama, the business development manager from Telia company, Division X, and application of data and AI in driving impact and creating sustainable digital solutions. Suvi.
Suvi currently works with Telia's Data Insights portfolio, where she advises organizations in the utilization of technology in the transition into a smarter and greener future.
Suvi, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, does it work? Yes. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share with you how we can use data and artificial intelligence to create a positive impact in the world. So, I will be talking about how we at Telia are using data and AI in the development of digital solutions with the objective of improving sustainability. But let me start by giving you a little bit of background of where we are coming from at Telia. So sustainability, it is a key element of our strategy. We have an ambitious environmental agenda aiming at zero CO2 by 2030. Besides that, we are driving digital inclusion with the main focus on children and seniors. And moreover, we invest in privacy protection as well as the development of secure networks. But today, let's focus on climate and circularity. So within this area, we are, of course, constantly reducing our own emissions. And besides that, we are fostering circular economy, for instance, by providing recycled mobile phones, as well as offering a new form of ownership through device as a service. But most importantly, I would say, what we are doing is that we are helping our customers to reduce their emissions through the development of green solutions. So at Telia, we believe that data is a key enabler of sustainability. And as a telco, a big part of our business, it's built around connectivity. And IoT, Internet of Things, that is at the very heart of connectivity, as it enables different things to exchange data and communicate with each other. And besides IoT, a lot of data is also generated in the mobile network. So all these devices and sensors, they, on a constant basis, they generate enormous amounts of data. And with the help of artificial intelligence, we can then turn these data into real knowledge and insights, based on which we can then take the right actions in order to become more sustainable. So I want to share with you 3 main ways in which we are helping our customers to become more sustainable. So let's have a look at how we can make transportation greener, how we can lower the emissions from traveling, and how we can make buildings more smarter and energy efficient. So I guess all of us know that transport, it generates a lot of CO2 emissions. And on a global level, approximately 20% of the CO2 emissions, they come from transport. And when it comes to reducing the emissions from transport, cities and municipalities, they of course have an important role to play, as they can influence the behavior of citizens as well as implement changes, for instance in the infrastructure and service provision. And we have created a solution that enables cities to identify different ways and areas where to reduce the emissions from transport. So I will now talk a little bit about travel emission insights. It is a solution that combines the people movement data that we get from our mobile network with our partner Zero's machine learning model, which has been developed at the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. So based on the mobile network data, we know anonymously where people are traveling and when. Basically, what kind of trips they make. The machine learning model then, it enables us to identify and predict the most likely mode of transport people use when traveling from one place to another, as well as the CO2 emissions generated from traveling. So with these two combined, the mobile network data and the machine learning model, the cities can then identify where the most emissions come from. How are our customers then using these insights? Well, it all starts with an understanding of what mobility looks like at the moment. And based on this understanding, cities can then identify areas where to improve walking and cycling conditions. They can also identify areas where public transport is not competitive at the moment when compared to traveling by own car. And as the data is constantly generated, the cities can also see, almost in real time, the impact of the initiatives they have taken. as well as, of course, prioritize the actions to the places where they have the biggest impact. Let's then have a look at some other ways our customers are using to make transport more sustainable with the help of IoT and AI. Eco-driving is a solution that enables us to optimize the fuel consumption of vehicles. It provides the driver with a real-time view on his current driving behavior, including the speed and CO2 consumption, as well as the fuel consumption. But most importantly, what eco-driving does is that it provides the driver, based on all the data, suggestions for improvement regarding how to drive more sustainably. And these changes the driver can then make during the drive. And how does eco-driving work? Well, IoT devices are installed in the vehicle, and these devices, accompanied with artificial intelligence, they interpret the data, and based on that, the system provides those suggestions for improvement. And the result of using this kind of a solution, well, it enables up to 12% lower fuel consumption and hence reduced environmental impact. Besides eco-driving, we can also use automatic passenger counting to make transport more sustainable. So with automatic passenger counting, we can count passengers as they enter and exit a vehicle. With this information, we know how many passengers are traveling or riding on a particular line, which stops are being used and when. And these insights can then be used to optimize the public transport timetables and schedules, as well as the routes, leading to more optimized operations. Let's now hear a few words from our customer Nobina on how they are using IoT and artificial intelligence to make their operations more sustainable. So if you could play the video, please.
So today we have a full platform on board the bus that gives us connectivity for everything from the surveillance cameras to customer satisfaction. We use alcolocks, and we measure real-time data, fuel consumption and engine temperatures and comfort temperature for the customer. We have equipment that gives the driver real-time feedback on how she is performing to help them drive more sustainable. Thanks to this eco-friendly driving, we're saving close to 12,000 tons of CO2 every year.
That was Nobina. Let's then move on and have a look at a bit different kind of example. So I guess some of you know that buildings, they account for 40% of the energy that is being used in cities. And yet still 75% of the buildings in the EU are not energy efficient. So there definitely is a lot of room for improvement. So one way to make buildings more sustainable is by optimizing heating with IoT and AI. So traditionally, heating, it is based on manual maintenance, as well as the prevailing outside temperature. And this kind of heating, it quite often, it results in, well, a lot of manual maintenance, of course, but also excess energy use and inefficiency. In optimized heating, we bring sensors into the apartments, into the buildings. And with the sensors in place, we can get real-time information on the indoor conditions of the apartments, including temperature and humidity. The temperature is then, with the help of AI, adjusted to make heating more sustainable. So the system uses both the information we get from the sensors inside the building, as well as the weather forecast. So not just the existing outside temperature, but the forecast. And based on historical and real-time data from the sensors, the system continuously learns how the building works and continuously optimizes the heating. So what about the future? Before I finish, I want to share with you a couple of examples of where we are heading at, what we are currently investigating, and how we see that in the future artificial intelligence can help us in our efforts to become more sustainable. Let's talk a little bit about predictive maintenance. With artificial intelligence, we can take steps towards more predictive maintenance. So basically, we can, in a better way, continuously understand and analyze the existing condition of connected assets to better plan for their maintenance. So based on the data that we get, for instance, from sensors, artificial intelligence, it can predict potential failures, thereby predicting if something negative or something harmful is about to happen, and thereby enabling timely maintenance and hence a longer life cycle of the assets. Also, with a more real-time view on the asset condition, we can eliminate unnecessary maintenance and thereby save resources. Especially in the industrial environment, artificial intelligence, it can be a real driver for safety. AI-based video analytics, they can turn analog events into digital data with which we can eliminate dangerous behaviors and improve the safety of the operations. So we can use video analytics for monitoring the environment as well as the material flows. We can, for instance, prevent accidents by monitoring the use of safety equipment, as you see here on the picture. We can also monitor behavior and identify, for example, if there are people at an area where access is not allowed. And finally, we can use video analytics in order to detect dangerous situations that could cause immediate harm, such as a leakage at an industrial environment. So, to conclude, already today, advanced analytics and artificial intelligence, they make up a really powerful tool in order to become more sustainable. Of course, what the future holds, it remains to be seen, but I strongly believe that together with data, as well as artificial intelligence and some creativity, we can unlock a lot of great opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suvi. And well, we have a question. I'm not sure. Well, maybe it's for you, or maybe for some other speakers from Finland. Are there any laws in Finland regulating use of AI? Please.
Yeah, I guess that is a rather broad question, and to be honest, I am not aware of there being any specific laws that regulate the use of AI. There could be, and if somebody else from the audience acknowledges the existence of those, please share. But of course, well, I guess we will hear later on speak about the ethics of AI, for instance. So of course there are a lot of laws that regulate ethical behavior, for example, and how to behave according to human rights. So all those things are of course related to artificial intelligence and using it in business context.
I would have additional question, if I may. So if a company decide to use artificial intelligence in their practice to boost their business, what challenges they typically face?
Yeah, it's a good question. And well, first of all, I have to say that I feel like companies are already now, they are very much investing in these kind of situation, these kind of ways of improving basically the business and becoming more sustainable. And also the fact that there are so many people here today listening to all these presentations, I think that also shows that there is a lot of interest. But of course, when we talk about the use of artificial intelligence, it's not just starting to use a new technology, but it also means that you need to adopt a new way of working. So I think that is one challenge that needs to be acknowledged, that if you need to adopt a new way of working, it also means that it requires a lot of change management in order to make that change successful.
Okay, so last question from my side. Could you please comment on this very often dilemma, which is transparency of algorithms? On the one hand, there is competitive interest of a company not to disclose algorithms they use, but on the other hand, there is this social expectation to disclose the algorithms, and it's conflicting. What is your opinion, or what is your comment on that?
Yeah, well, I think that in order to make the use of these kind of solutions more extensive and the use of AI more extensive, there of course needs to be a lot of transparency. So I don't think there is any clear answer to the question. It is always a balancing act in order to find the optimal place.
Okay. Thank you. And the questions from the application?
That's it.
What about the audience? Do you have any questions to Suvi? Please.
Suvi, thank you very much for the very substantive presentation. You mentioned how AI can be used for industry safety and the data as well. But maybe you know some practical solutions or tools which help to implement such decisions in real business.
Yeah, well, I of course, well, first of all, thank you for the question. I come from Telia, so we of course are ourselves, and together with our partners and customers, we are on a continuous basis, we are developing solutions, for instance, for the industrial use cases.
Okay, we have question for last. We have time for last question. Any of you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, no question. So thank you very much. It was Suvi Valkama, Business Development Manager at Telia Company.
And now it's time for the Nordic AI ecosystem representative, and it's Olivia Reckman, Innovation Advisor, Lead of AI and Data, Nordic Innovation, Nordic Council of Ministers.
Prior to joining Nordic Innovation in 2022, Olivia has worked for several years as an innovation consultant. In her role, she helped international consortium of SMEs, startups, and large companies, as well as universities, to secure soft funding for green and deep tech innovation projects. Olivia holds a Master of Science in International Business and Politics. She founded a CRM consultancy in 2010. Besides her experience in navigating innovation ecosystem and international business development and public policy analysis, Olivia has lived and worked in all Scandinavian countries. Olivia, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Piotr, for that extensive introduction, and really grateful for being here today. And first of all, I just wanted to ask if are you familiar with the term ethical AI? If so, raise your hand. I'm not going to ask you more about it, so don't feel like you have to give a full definition of what this is. Okay, so there's a bit of familiarity here in the room. So I think it's important to address first what is ethical AI, and just to make a disclaimer, AI in itself, the definition of AI is constantly evolving. As we see, OECD is right now having discussions about this, so defining ethical AI then becomes one step further, more difficult. But I think we can think about a world where technology is not just intelligent, but is also responsibly used. And that's what kind of ethical AI is about, where we have safeguards that are protecting us, our well-being and human rights. So that's a bit of a broad introduction to what ethical AI is about. And before we move on, what I'm going to talk about today is kind of giving you, it says a deep dive into the strategies and initiatives in the Nordics about how to propel this vision of becoming a world-leading region in ethical AI. But I think that's quite ambitious in kind of 10 minutes. So it will be a bit of a, I'll take you through a journey of the 5 Nordic countries and what kind of are some of the strongholds and challenges that we have in common, and also want to open the floor later on for questions and discussion about the Baltic countries, which I hope that we'll have more and more collaboration with at Nordic Innovation, where I'm coming from. But before getting fully into it, I'll just say a few words about myself, and mostly that I'm really happy to be back in Lithuania. Like I said, my name is Olivia Reckman, and I'm based in Norway now. I work for Nordic Innovation, and well, I'll soon get into what Nordic Innovation is and how it's connected to Nordic Council of Ministers. But I was in Lithuania in 1996 when I was 4 years old, and then again in 2005 I spent a couple of weeks in Alytus, and I even went to Lithuanian school for one day. And so I haven't been back here now since 2005, so it's been really good, even if I haven't seen that much as I wanted of Vilnius the last 2 days. It's been a pleasure being here, and so I hope this is a beginning of more collaboration here. But let me just show you a little bit like where am I coming from and what is Nordic Innovation. So Nordic Innovation is innovation agency at the Nordic level. So we are part of Nordic Council of Ministers, which is the official intergovernmental collaboration body between the 5 Nordic countries. In addition to that, there's of course also a lot of collaboration with the 3 Baltic countries. And yeah, so we answer to the 5 ministers of industry, business and trade. And like I mentioned, we're based in Oslo. And we're mostly targeted towards business. So that's like our target group and what we work to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. So enough about that. I want to talk about why the Nordics and the Baltics, but a disclaimer again, we don't have a mandate as of now at Nordic Innovation to work with the Baltic countries in terms of funding. I hope that will come. But this is what we've learned since we started working with AI and data about the Nordic ecosystem. And what you see here is that, well, I think it's important to start with, in the Nordics, we're 27 million in the 5 Nordic countries combined. And so if you add the Baltic countries with 33 million, and we're the 11th or 12th largest economy, depending on which year you measure, in the world. And this was quite surprising when I learned this, I think. And that's why that's important, is because why should we work together? Well, I think this provides a level of scale, and especially when it comes to AI, to leverage kind of national strongholds. I know that here in Lithuania, laser technology and biotech is really at the forefront. And also I've heard semiconducting industry is also doing quite strong. So it's about really leveraging these type of national strongholds and connecting kind of the synergies. We can become a lot stronger in comparison to other countries like US or China. And then it's also about, we talk about ethical AI, it's about values like trust and sustainability comes also back to the transparency and equality. So we have, of course, differences between the countries, but all in all, there's quite similar values and cultures that can be built upon. And this is not to be underestimated when it comes to international collaboration, but also collaborating in AI. And then thirdly, we have a disproportionate strong tech ecosystem. The amount of large tech companies in the Nordics per capita is really outstanding. So that's something to really build upon when developing AI capabilities in companies. And then, as I'll get back to also, there's a lot of private investment. For example, Sweden is at the top in EU when it comes to private investment in AI. So this is also kind of building the foundation. And then lastly, I just want to mention a few words about strategic autonomy. So we've seen now with OpenAI and the kind of drama that's going on there, that we have a lot of strong, massively powerful tech giants that are not European or not Nordic or Baltic. And this is becoming more and more important as the world order is changing to kind of build our own capabilities. So what we know, and I want to kind of this is just showing you, this is the vision that was adopted by the 5 Nordic ministers of trade and industry and business. So it's to become world leading in ethical AI and responsible use of data by 2030. That's quite ambitious. All the Nordic countries have a national AI strategy. Finland was first out, really a forerunner. In 2017, they launched their AI strategy. And they also shared the high-level expert group at the EU level that was part of bringing forth these key requirements that are then laying the foundation for the EU AI Act. So I think Finland is worth to mention here that they've really been at the forefront of driving in the Nordics the agenda. And so what are some of the strongholds then in the Nordics? I'm not going to run through all of this because we only have 10 minutes. But maybe worth to mention is we're here today to talk about sustainability and AI as a tool to kind of propel the optimization that can help with that. So in Norway, as you all know, there's a huge oil and gas sector, and it's been lifted that there's huge potential for the twin transition, the green and digital transition. So that's lifted as one of the strongholds in Norway, that there's a lot of work ongoing there with coupling the two. And then you have a best practice, a regulatory sandbox that was created by the Data Protection Agency in Norway. And that was a collaboration where companies could apply, and then they could get some type of advice from the Data Protection Agency about how to navigate the regulatory landscape in AI that existed at the time. And then you have a couple of other, for example, Finland. I think for you guys that are sitting here, I think one thing that's worth to mention is that University of Helsinki created this best practice, this course called Elements of AI. And it's now translated to 26 languages, and it's for free. So I can really recommend this, and it's directed to everyone to kind of level up the capabilities of the Finnish population, but now then spread to, I think it's 96 countries in the world. So it's quite, it's gotten quite successful. So these are the type of examples that we've been able to collect in the Nordics of best practices. So what are then challenges? I mean, as you can see, these are quite broad. Data management is something that's kind of omnipresent, no matter what organization or business we've talked to, what we see in the evidence collected. It, of course, depends on the level of maturity and where you're at in your journey, but data management goes throughout the whole data value chain. So it's from collecting data, maintaining databases, having the right metadata, so labeling and categorization and so forth, and cybersecurity. So there's a lot of elements going into this term, but that's a challenge in general for Nordic businesses. And then we have something called transition from AI pilots to production. And I think this is one thing I want to add here that we're seeing more and more is also a debate around the challenge that there's a really world-leading research in the Nordics when it comes to AI, but there's I guess you could call it the valley of death from translating that into entrepreneurial activity and business. And maybe we'll hear a bit more about this later on. Just had a talk before here about this, that, for example, in the US, you have universities in Silicon Valley like Stanford, where most professors work on a startup on the side. And in the Nordics, there's less incentives in academia to have these like dual roles. So that's also something that we see as a challenge in the Nordics. And then we'll get more into this in the panel discussion we'll listen to later on, but for Nordic businesses to adopt regulations in ethical AI, like how do we go from theory to practice? What does it mean? So building that organizational capability is a challenge. And then lastly, having the right people with the right skills is also something that we've picked up. And I've mentioned this before, so I will show you some of the recommendations that came out from the mapping that we did in 2022. So mind you that this was before the launch of ChatGPT in the Nordics, but I think this still holds quite strong. So based on these recommendations, for example, we have a very strong and long tradition of national data sets in the Nordics and in the Baltics. So this is something that can be built upon, but of course there's a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that, for example, cybersecurity and so on, but also open this up to businesses so they can innovate on data sets. So just to kind of take it down one level, to not have it too abstract, I think one example, for example, is the Norwegian Meteorological Institute's app, YR. So with YR, they have created an API that makes it quite straightforward to utilize the data that they have if you want to build an application based on that. So that's the type of examples when we talk about national data set that could spur innovation. And then I will get back a little bit more into this, but it was really good to hear Suvi presenting some real life use cases before from Telia. So based on all these recommendations, what we're trying to do is to collect then the Nordic ethical AI use cases. So this is, for example, this is a report that's going to be published in January, and there will be around 20 use cases. For example, so there's going to be an interesting case. How did they do this, and how did they retain control of the data? And so kind of to inspire, how can you work with data and public data sets and build business upon that? And then we have some arguments about why is ethical AI important, kind of collecting all the quantifiable metrics and data that is out there. And I think with ethical AI, what we see a lot, I think an analogy is to the sustainability movement maybe 10, 15 years ago, that you needed to make a case for why it made sense to be responsible by design. So from the beginning, when you're designing and developing and then deploying throughout the whole chain, this like thinking needs to be incorporated. So this would kind of target and bring forth those arguments. And then lastly, yesterday we had the first out of many sandbox that will help Nordic businesses to then try out and how can we go from theory to practice. So I just wanted to show some more concrete examples of what is being done here. But I think last and not least, I think to summarize kind of what is happening in the Nordic ecosystem today, we have some common Nordic strongholds, and I'm really interested to hear how this relates then to the Baltics as well, because I think there are a lot of synergies there. And then we have some focus areas that are being more and more brought forward. So there was, on the last slide, there was the mention of a Nordic ethical AI expert group. And this is a group of 23 individuals from, for example, Novo Nordisk, AI, chief of AI there. And they're coming forward with recommendations to the policymakers. And these are the 5 focus areas that the recommendations are going to target. And this is kind of the outcome so far. So you can see there's a lot of translation from the evidence that's been collected towards what needs to be addressed in order to become world leading in ethical AI. And so thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you very much. It was Olivia Reckman, Nordic Innovation. And now we go to questions and answer session. So if any of you have questions to our speaker, please raise your hand, get the microphone and ask. I have always plan B, so I have question prepared to the speaker. And I would like to continue this topic of, let's name it, knowledge valorization. So there are many great technologies developed by scientists and practitioners in Finland, Norway, Denmark, etc., etc. But what to do to make them successful globally? Yeah? So there is idea, scientific idea, very promising. What to do to commercialize it, to scale it up globally? Does Nordic Innovation have any recommendations for that?
That's a really good question, and a broad question as well. I mean, partly what you're talking about is expert promotion in a way, or like scaling globally, as I understand it. Or is it this knowledge translation or transition between countries?
Knowledge valorization. So if there is any research or any achievement of sciences, which is very promising, how to do that this solution is famous in the world and scale up in many countries like US, Canada, Australia, others.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of, creating that collaboration between countries as well now I'm just speaking more from a government level, to have that knowledge exchange, to learn from each other from the strongholds. Like we mentioned, some of the strongholds here in Lithuania, I think there's a lot to be learned from each other by having like exchange of not only academia, but also industrial partnerships. So that's something that we're trying to do. And I hope we can get the 3 Baltic countries also in, so building consortiums that are based on all of the, I don't know if that answers entirely your question.
To some extent,
from a policy perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have also another question. So should we need a regulator or inspection supervising algorithms? Yeah, because for example, in case of lift or physical machineries, we have institutions that control and says if it's safe for people, for the users. Yeah. So what is your perspective in context of this ethical AI? Do we need an inspection regulator or someone, or how we should organize it?
Definitely, and I think that's going to be in the panel debate soon. But I think that's it's a bit of a Wild West in some regards right now. There's no regulate. There are GDPR and there are like the Data Governance Act and other EU directives and acts, but we're patiently awaiting. But we need to regulate this technology, and I think that's where AI stands out. That even in the US, that's maybe less pro-regulation, technology leaders there have strongly advocated for this, as you know, with the moratorium in the spring. So definitely. And the EU AI Act will also require all member countries to have their own entity that will overlook algorithmic safety. So, for example, there's a working group involving the Baltic countries called Nobareg, where the ministries of economic and innovation here in Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia, along with the data protection agencies, are collaborating on how to implement the EU AI Act. So definitely, and there's already work being done, but I'll leave it to the panel debate after to go more into depth.
There is one more very important question. Should the AI literacy be included in the secondary school education?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're looking at the revolution here that's already underway. So it's going to change how we work, and it's already changing how we're working. I think in 5 years' time, when we're going to look back, it's really hard to foresee how this is going to change our society and the way we learn and we work. So, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was Olivia Reckman, Nordic Innovation.
Thank you.
And now we invite you, welcome you to the fire chat under topic AI ethics and regulations, navigating the sustainable future. And the participants will be?
It will be Katerina Yarmolovichina, a senior legal counsel of Fondia, Lithuania. She also leads the Baltics in Fondia Contracts and Technology Group. She has a legal tech LLM degree and it's a certified personal data protection expert, combining her expertise with deep passion for AI and technology innovations. And another fireside conversation participant is Paulius Pakutinskas, the Doctor of Philosophy focused in business, experience senior legal executive with demonstrated history of working in the telecommunications industry. So please, Katerina, Paulius,
enjoy the fire
and
chat.
I have some questions for you. Yes, indeed, let's start from the questions that were raised already in the question for the speaker about the regulation landscape. What's happening?
Oh, okay. So there was a good and let's say quite usual question: do we need to regulate artificial intelligence, and do we need regulatories? And will it be successful? Because it's so, unclear what it is, and we have very big problems with the definitions if we can't define how we can regulate, and so on and so on. I think that it's good to agree on some rules, on some clear rules, and to implement it. And I think that we are a bit late, still late, because normally I'm using GDPR as an example. It was really big change. It was not so smooth change. It was sometimes painful. There were some positive and negative issues. But why it was so strong? Because we were so late. We were so late that we need very aggressive attitude, very huge penalties, and then we can do something. When we talk about artificial intelligence, there are the same issues here, because we have big techs who are really powerful. They are, very good in this business, and it's quite difficult to compete others. And as it was mentioned, we have no such big tech companies in whole Europe. Let's say these really big companies. We are successful in other fields, but not so much in this. Anyway, we need to have some rules. Is it difficult to implement? Yes, it is difficult. Is it difficult to regulate in good way? Absolutely. So it's really difficult because we have never tried to do it. I mean in this really let's say holistic way, because we have some regulations, as it was asked. We have some regulations. We have GDPR is very interrelated to artificial. We have product safety regulation and other regulations what are important for artificial intelligence. Maybe some of them are good, but for artificial, some of them not so much. So we need to adjust or change. But anyway, we have some basis, but we have no understanding how to regulate new relation, because law is constructed in a very simple way. You had some historical problems and you try to solve what it happened some time ago. And if you are not good, so you can change. We have all our civil criminal laws created on historical basis. Now we need to do something in future. And it's absolutely crisis for lawyers, because we don't know what it is, we don't know how to do, and we involve such things what were not so good, like ethics. You know, for lawyers it was like a bit lower level issues, something what is not yet regulated, and now we can't just divide it, because it's a part of regulation, and some issues can't be defined by law. We need to go to ethics. And why this, what we are talking here, sustainability and ethics is critically important, that's because we are not capable to do it everything by law, by hard rules. And that's why Europe started from high-level experts groups who were working in ethics. So that were first steps to regulation. So I think that definitely we need to do, because now it's a vacuum. And other countries, like it was mentioned, the United States, who are really good in artificial intelligence. And these persons who are really in artificial intelligence, they can earn a lot of money, are talking, you know, we need to do something, because it's too risky. And it's quite unusual, because normally it's not good way to regulate technologies as such. That's not good. So we do not need to. But application of technologies, we need to regulate. Okay, so blockchains, we're not regulating blockchains, but we're regulating cryptocurrencies. Yeah, so here we need to understand that we are not going to regulate technology. Yes, we will standardize. There are a lot of standards, a lot of other issues, but the problem is not technology as such, but where and how we apply, implement, and I think we can raise issues here. Is it wrong way? How to be quite secure? How to be sustainable, and so on. So definitely we need to regulate. Will it be successful? It's difficult to say, because there are quite a lot of new regulations in Europe. Cybersecurity, you know, some restrictions to let's call third parties equipment, and so on and so on. So it's quite big bubble of regulation. How to influence our lives, we will see. I think that there will be positive but negative consequences too. But we need to be ready. We can't just wait and do nothing. So it's critically important to regulate.
Yes. If I understand right, so in principle now it's somehow regulated, but not fully. And if company just wants to use the situation when things are not regulated, and one company is fair company, responsible company, and the other one is like, well, it complies with the legislation, but those ethical things that are untouchable, so they just skip that. Are there any cases already in this field? Like, have you experienced that?
Yeah, these ethical issues, I think when we talk about the EU and what is good, what was mentioned, Nordics and Baltics, what is good that people, the society, accept ethical requirements. Not just you know, these who are going to develop or produce, but the society. We like to have sustainable and ethical products. And when there is a question which products to utilize, now it's quite difficult to choose. We don't know anything in these products and in developers, and we have no trust. It's very good for Nordics, for Baltics, to position ourselves as ethical, developers, and it is not 100% guarantee that none of Scandinavian company or Baltic company will do some harm, but I think that is good that we are raising some standards and we are creating some standards, and when we choose some products, I think it will be very successful if seeing that this product is from Nordics and from Baltics, there will be more trust than to buy some, I don't know, don't like to name any country, but from other countries, which are not so keen in society. Because the problem is not choosing a product, but the problem is how is it implemented from the initial stage, from design. By design, yeah. So, and here we have a very big gap, because now the changes are so fast, so big, that we were not ready to teach our developers, our data scientists, our technicians, engineers in technical universities about ethics, and that's our gap. That's our problem, which we need to fix it right now. There was a good question about schools. Definitely, and we are late. And we are late. Now there is no time to teach about AI as, some miracle, because it's not miracle anymore. But that is a very good time for governments to think, and for institutions to think about changes of models of teaching. That means that we need to implement artificial intelligence in our schools so that we change methods. Because these all methods, when there was one smart teacher and a lot of stupid kids, that doesn't work anymore, because it's really old-fashioned way. So there are a lot of good possibilities to utilize artificial intelligence and make it individual. So we can create very good things like individual persons who can't be educated just in mass, just to find the strongest parts, what is most interesting for this particular person, and to do it, in really high quality, results and knowledge. So we need to change it. So we need to do it fast, because changes are so rapid, and we discussed in universities. Students are writing theses with ChatGPT, and we have big problems to check it or recognize. And if we recognize, there are no instruments which can 100% say that it is generated by artificial intelligence. And there are some clear restrictions in these products. You can't use for student evaluation. So now, teachers and professors or lecturers are in quite tricky situation. So that means that this method, what was absolutely usual, all written works, it's under question. It could be that it's not good enough.
Yes, and I believe that, of course, in education it's a very powerful tool. But let's go back to the sustainability and the companies. And Katerina, if let's say a company is planning to use AI for sustainable data collection, sustainability data collection, and it's coming to your advice as a legal advisor, what would be your advice? What are the key points to look at?
So, okay. Yeah, talking about companies using already AI solutions and trying to choose one or just thinking about this topic, first of all, companies should think about the function, the purpose, why they want it, first of all, and then, of course, the ethics is very important. As Professor mentioned, there are a lot of guidance and recommendations from European Commission and from UNESCO and so on that we can use. I would probably mention three ethical aspects that we should, three main maybe in this sustainability context that are very important. So first of all, transparent AI. We all must know what is okay and what is not okay within our organization using AI. So transparency, of course, non-discrimination. It was mentioned by previous speakers as well. So fairness, and the third one, very important, accountability. That we can show the results must be traceable and risks must be traceable, and perform regular audits of the systems and so on. So like these three main things are very important. If we think about more practical approach, what we advise organizations to have. So first of all, establish a working group, steering group on these AI topics, maybe from IT, from management side, maybe legal side, to evaluate, to oversee AI related topics within the organization. And of course, to have documented AI policy in place that would describe main ethical aspects, legal aspects, how we deal with personal data protection, with IPR things and confidential information, trade secrets, how we deal with all these legal aspects of AI. And of course, if we talk about sustainability, we can include such principles as, for example, green computing or data minimization, just general concepts related to your organization and relevant. So these kinds of things, of course, risk management mechanisms, how we identify, analyze risks, how we mitigate them, what we do, what are the tools to mitigate the risks related to AI. So, and we say that this is the most important thing, how we communicate internally with our employees. Because as an employer, we must teach employees how to use the solutions safely, how not to share too much information, and so on. So this would be the main things.
Yes, thank you. And if we take, well, different fields of sustainability, fairness, transparency, accountability, environmental issues, non-discrimination, which are the most difficult in relation to AI projects? Which field is the most sensitive?
I think AI and sustainability is sensitive at all. Because when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's not sustainable at all in the beginning, because we are hitting a lot of we are burning a lot of energy, really. So data centers are overloaded. But what is interesting and important that it happens mostly in first part in when you create it, when you teach it. Afterwards, it is there is more use than you know, harm. And there were perfect recommendations. I think they were covered all areas by my colleague. But there is one quite important to think, and you started from this. You think why you need it. Anyway, so like everywhere, if you use something, you need to think, do you need and why you need, and then you can use, because we can create a lot of things what are nice or nice to have, but they are not generating use. And these risks are real, and me personally, I recommend to use artificial intelligence because it's future and we will not stop, and it's quite crazy to think about stopping or hard limiting of useful and you know, ethical products. But that's important to understand that there is some harm, and I think in general, it's very, for lawyers, it's a very simple answer. Human rights, it's most important. That's very simple, but it's not so simple in life, because to measure all these human rights issues, it's really difficult. And as I told, it's good that in some time period we will see trusted or untrusted providers. Doesn't matter, is it providers, countries, and we will have a lot of scandals. We will have a lot of scandals related to data leakage, to cybersecurity, and etc. So trust will be quite important, and it's you know, sometimes we trust to our providers quite a lot, like, you know, cloud. It's risky too, but we trust. We use Teams or Zoom or other communication, so there is a possibility to you know, to steal your data, but we trust. We just trust. We think that is good, that's encrypted and so on, but there is quite big part of trust. So after some time, we will see what are trusted providers, what are not. So now we need to use a lot of efforts, because we can't trust at the moment to any of providers, because they are, you know, quite not tested, let's say. We try to trust Microsoft, we test these solutions, but you know, they will need to prove it in some time period. After some times, we will use more trust, and that's good. So yeah, so human rights in general it's most important, and human rights not just like nice words, but human rights for your employees, for your customers, and to involve everything what you mentioned. So all these non-discrimination issues and other important things. Yeah. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, and since it's a fireside talk, so I can ask just a stupid question. Now, one of the issues the companies are facing when they have to implement sustainability principles, it's equality at a management level, at the, I don't know, middle management, top management, and the highest level of management. And then some companies just take it very straightforward. 50% women, 50% men. Can we teach artificial intelligence instrument like to select the most appropriate and the most equal the composition of the management one? Because we have to take into account skills. So it's not about 50-50, but I mean, can we use it?
I think it's better to use a diversity term here because it's quite simple to divide all society just by gender, because people are so different, and we can't recognize as humans, we are a bit primitive here, to find all, let's say, features or good sides of any human being. And I think there will be some limitations in Artificial Intelligence Act, and I think that's not so good, but there are possibilities to make perfect, groups or perfect employees what are based not on some, just gender or just race issues, but there are a lot of psychological things like introverts, extroverts, and so on. So you can create some, but it's dangerous too, because here it is one step to discrimination. Because if you will take some, I'm always telling a very simple story. Let's find in Lithuania which race is better for any of professions. And the answer will be that it's a white race, because historically we have no other races here. Yeah, so it's very simple, yeah? In more diverse societies, maybe it will be more answers. But here it will be 100%. I'm not talking about gender, because there could be some deviations. But when talking about race, it will be just white person, normally Lithuanian, or sometimes Russian, or sometimes Polish. So that's maximum what it could be, because historically there are no other races and nationalities. So we are one step from discrimination, deep discrimination, where are problems. But possibilities are huge, just to make perfect, and not just for how to say, to utilize, to use these people, but for the same these persons to use what is most interesting for them, what they can do the best, and where they are just excited. So we can change a bit society by making it nice to live for person, and good for business, for society, for government, doesn't matter. So there are a lot of possibilities. The issue is how we will utilize. The same coming back to education. Now we use in lazy way, that students understand that ChatGPT can do their homework, and that's bad, okay? But we can do in opposite way, that they will study from, because all these, especially school issues, they are, quite basic. And for ChatGPT, it's like, nothing. It can explain sometimes very good. And, but we need to implement somehow, encourage people to use it. And that's an issue that we can use for bad and for good, and the step from bad to good is really, really short.
Yeah, so sustainable future. Which tool you think, well, just maybe a couple of tools that in the future will be mostly used by companies? Katerina?
Well,
in which field, I would say, probably?
The technology is evolving, and we can't predict what we will have in several years. But in general, talking about tools, we must think about as Professor really great. His point is that it is like the tool, and what depending on us is the implementation of this tool. So how we do this input, and what we do with the output, how we use that. Talking about the input, what data we use, where it comes from. For example, this personal data issues. If we ensure the compliance with the GDPR requirements, it's fine. But I just give one example related to data protection, because it is important, I think. In August, several privacy organizations from all over the world just issued the statement related to data scraping. That data publicly available on the internet is still personal data, and it is object for privacy laws and the GDPR in the European Union, but in many jurisdictions all over the world also. So we need to treat this data accordingly. We need to have this legal basis to work with this data, with this databases on which models are training. Yeah. So we need to remember this. So this example, and talking about this popular new tools, we talk more about copilots. Yeah, copilot type tools like Second Pilot, your personal digital assistant, and more companies think about implementing it to their employees. But the question is, what would be the impact on data subjects, on your employees? So we need to remember that it is obligatory by the law to perform impact assessments of this processing operation. So basically we have many rules related to AI tools already. We don't need to wait to the AI Act. We must act proactively and think about how AI tools change our operations, our processes within organizations now, and how we must react.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Paulius, the last practical advice for companies when they start using AI from the legal point of view.
First is please use it. Because do not be afraid. Anyway, the competition is quite high, and you need it to do it. But it's privacy. Privacy and confidentiality is just the first step, initial first step. Risk management in privacy. Do not use your confidential info when you can't control it, and don't use data, customer data, and other personal data here. That's just first basic, and avoid harm to employees and your customers. That's basic, absolutely. But there are much more steps what you mentioned, what are really important.
So thank you very much. I think we are already out of time, and there are so many issues to discuss, and just use it, be careful, and I think the future without AI is not possible anymore. So thank you. And Piotr, closing remarks. So, what we will say in addition to what was said?
That there is big potential of using artificial intelligence. There are some associated challenges, concerns, and issues to be addressed. Maybe some practical examples of these concerns and issues. So, for example, let's imagine that you have a daughter that suffers from depression, and she scrolls internet, reading portals, and of course she is focused on negative content, on bad, pessimistic news. Yeah, and the more she reads, the more portal is satisfied because he gets clicks, time of attention, etc., etc. But in the same time, the more she falls into depression. Yeah, so this is this ethical concern. Yeah, and I believe that what is very important, because there is new profession, as I tried to signal during the sessions, there is new profession like AI engineers, AI prompters, so people that train algorithms. Yeah. And on their ethical constitution, everything depends. Yeah, if the AI is applied in ethically correct manner, or it's harmful for people, for the society, and if it's harmful, it's not sustainable. Yeah, there are also some other concerns, for example, related to privacy of data. In 2019, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland has commissioned a report on AI applications in diplomacy. It was delivered by Diplo Foundation, and one of the themes of the presentation was that in US it is possible to identify 87% of US population can be precisely identified, maybe from the beginning. So it's issue of anonymizing data. Yeah, so there is data that is anonymized, but the computing power and capability to process data can de-anonymize data. And for example, in US, 87% of population can be individually identified based on three data. Number one is postal code, number two is gender, and number three was date of birth. Yeah, and it shows that data, even if it's anonymous, it can be de-anonymized using the artificial intelligence. And of course, it's certain risk for privacy. Yeah, there are also other risks like related to possibility to influence people without their control. Yeah, so it's like inherent influence over them. And one of this example you can follow, I already mentioned this apply magic sauce. So it's tool developed by Psychometric Center at the University of Cambridge, and it shows profiling people based on their presence in social media. Yeah, so they can build your psychological profile on what you say in Facebook and your posts. Yeah, and I tried it with my students many times, and they were impressed by the accuracy of delivery of this tool. Yeah, so they commented incredible how they know it about certain person. And it, of course, poses some risks for our privacy and our situation. Sometimes it is said that relation between citizen and big tech is like Venice mirror. Yeah, so big tech knows everything about us and sees what we are doing, but we don't know anything or very little about the big tech, the algorithms, etc., etc. So these are my comments. To sum up them, AI brings big potential, but there are also some exposures or issues to be addressed. And fortunately, both Nordic countries and Baltic countries are responsible countries. Yeah, so I think that it's big role for our countries to take lead in this ethical AI, to secure that we are not only productive, we are not able to optimize processes, but that it's not harmful for other people. And what about you, Audronia?
Well, since we are ending up quite late today, so for me the two biggest points what I made, two conclusions what I made myself during the conference. So first of all, before using, ask why, what for, what I'm getting from it, and then to understand, clear that, and then measure risks. I think risk management, that's everything what you've better told, and it's still, it might contribute to sustainability, it might not. And it's organizational culture that is responsible for building responsible AI. So being sustainable means being ethical, being fair, being real citizen of this world. So be responsible and behave in a responsible way and use responsibly artificial intelligence.
And last conclusion, thank you very much for your audience, for your presence, for your questions. And now we will have a family picture. I mean the speakers, but if you also would like to have a picture with us, I think it's manageable. Yeah, so enjoy the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.